Okay, hello everybody. It's Loren. I'm here live at Tanglewood on a sort of rainy, gray Friday morning. Not the most beautiful day ever, although I don't know about you. I'm very, very grateful for the rain. We have been planting fruit trees lately, and rain is really, really important. So I'm glad to see it. We actually had, so we've probably had 200 trees or more go in the ground already. Hold on, stop here. Got about 200. Shirley is feeding the kitties for me today because I was so busy I didn't get a chance and completely forgot about it. So she's handling that. I usually do that before we make this call. So I hope everyone's doing well, having a great week. It's been busy as ever here at Tanglewood, and we are finally hoping to start moving back towards a more normal situation. It won't be normal for quite a while, I'm sure. We are being told that we can only have 50% occupancy. Even when they open everything to everyone, only 50% of the normal number of people can be here. And that means we're probably going to wind up being booked all the time because we're normally full when we have 100% occupancy. It's going to be difficult. Okay. You see that craziness? That's it, Shirley. Yeah, we have to keep the older cat and the kitties separate because they don't get along, and so they go in the bathroom until it's time for them to eat, and then they're out of there like animals. It's crazy. Okay. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing well. We have people arriving tomorrow and Sunday. We have borders are opening up a little bit more and more. We now have additional countries that people can come from. So I think for the last 2 weeks, we've been accepting people from the EU, European Union, from the UK, and from Canada. That's the wrong document. We now have, here we go. We've also added some other places, Australia, New Zealand. Let's see, most of these are, almost everywhere in Europe. Japan, China, those are coming. Japan, China, the new ones are coming, I think, as of the 1st of September. So another, 10 days or so, it'll be possible. So Singapore, most of these other ones, Uruguay, right. And I think all the rest of them are Europe. I think they've added some countries, but we're accepting people now from almost everywhere in Europe and a few other places, and being told that in about 4 more weeks, it'll be open to people from the US as well as to perhaps to some other places too. So far in Latin America, it's only, obviously Costa Ricans can come if you happen to be here from Costa Rica or from Uruguay. That's the only other country. We're hoping that's going to shift soon because we have lots of people that want to get here from Chile and other places, Mexico, that haven't been able to. Okay, so I'm going to see what's happening over here on the YouTube. Adam was patiently waiting. Thank you, Adam, for waiting patiently. Hope you're still with us. Shalom Aleichem says, hi, Loren. So happy it's Friday. Look forward to hearing you share your wisdom on water fasting and well-being. Would you please share why you choose not to use shampoo and soap? Ellie. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you, first of all, for your kind comments. It's actually really simple. Pretty much all personal care products have some less than optimal, if not toxic, ingredients. All the commercial ones are things you really don't want to be putting in this clothes. It's a little chilly today, so I'm actually closing several doors here. Okay, there we go. Also, the cats have been pretty rambunctious. And because it's wet out today, it's been raining all morning, they come in with muddy paws and then get all over the furniture. So I'm going to let them stay outside for a while. The primary thing, there's a couple things happening with regard to soaps and shampoos, personal care products. All these things that you can buy that go on your skin contain ingredients you really don't want in your bloodstream, except when you put them on your skin, you are absorbing things in your bloodstream. And I'll give you an example. We have a massage room here. We have a massage therapist who comes up to offer massages to our guests. I'll get a massage every once in a while, not so often, but we use currently organic coconut oil, which is made right here in Costa Rica. It's 100% organic. Within about 5 minutes or so of putting oil on my skin, I can taste it in my mouth, okay, because it's in my bloodstream. And I would just assume that it not be in my bloodstream. So one of the reasons I don't get massages more often. But it's the primary reason I don't put anything on my skin. You know, simple basic rule is don't put anything on your skin if you wouldn't be willing to eat it. And the problem is, you know, even with the organic products, we don't really know 100% of what's in there, because at least in the US, it may be different. Ellie, I'm guessing that you're in Israel from your Hebrew Shalom Aleichem. I don't know what the rules are in Israel, but in the US, manufacturers do not have to put an ingredient on the label. They don't have to name it if it makes up less than 1% of the total. And so there could be all kinds of things in these products that we don't even know. I mean, obviously, if you're buying something from someone you know, that's better. It's definitely safer. But I'm still not sure that I want it at all. You know, that's up to you. For me, I think I would just assume not have it, right? So that's my choice. Move my phone just a little closer so I can reach it. I don't know if this is supposed to happen, but I'm not very technically adept. My iPhone keeps going dark, and so I keep reaching out to touch the screen so I can see it's still operating, still working. Because last week it kept cutting out. Only when I touched it would reconnect. So I'd rather keep it open. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. The same is true with other things. Now there's another issue. Using soap dries out your skin, and of course your soap could have some ingredient in it that doesn't do that. But the truth is that really ideal? Probably not. The same with shampoos. You know, when you wash your hair, now this is much less of an issue for me than it used to be. I mean, I'm not, you know, I do have hair. I have more here than I have up here, but I keep it very short. I just prefer it that way. My hair was quite long when I was younger, but even then, I mean, when I stopped using these products nearly 30 years ago, I had long hair, a full head of hair, and it was pretty long. And I still, you know, when I got my body clean, it stopped being greasy. It stopped feeling bad. And one of the things that happens when we wash our hair, the body creates this oil to protect your scalp. And you shampoo and wash it off. And then it works hard to recreate that. And then you shampoo and wash it off. And I grew up with 3 sisters. And sometimes they would wash their hair every single day, sometimes twice a day. You know, I'd wash my hair when I was a kid. I mean, maybe a couple times a week. Whenever someone said I had to wash my hair, I mean, you know, when I was a little older, I paid more attention to it. When I was younger, I wasn't really that interested. But my sisters were constantly washing their hair. You're constantly stripping the oil off your scalp. Your body works hard to replace it. So if you don't wash it, what happens? It gets very oily very quickly because the body is in overdrive, constantly replacing all this oil. We don't need to do that. That's not really optimal. Okay, so I don't use these products. And here's the crazy thing. I mean, I have a client here now who just the other day I said to him, you know, I said, how often? No, I said to him, jokingly, he'd been here for a week, and I said, oh, you have a new shirt on. He didn't. He'd been wearing the exact same shirt every day. And he said, well, I'm taking your advice of not bathing because I encourage people fasting not to bathe more often than necessary. Why? Because it takes a lot of energy. And so I'm taking your advice on not bathing, and I figure if I'm not bathing, what's the point of putting on a clean shirt? The shirt's just I'm going to make my shirt instantly dirty. Of course, the problem is that you wear the same dirty shirt over and over again, the shirt starts to stink itself, right? It's absorbing from you, and so it gets pretty bad. When you're detoxifying, when your body's detoxing, it creates these strong odors, bad breath, strong body odor, you know, etc. The oiliness. When the body's clean, those things don't happen. And so I don't need soap or shampoo because I don't smell bad. When the body's clean, it just doesn't smell bad. If I eat a bunch of nuts or seeds, which happens every once in a while, not a lot of them, but if I'm eating, for instance, a prepared raw vegan meal, It might include some nuts or seeds. I'll have a stronger body odor the next day. It'll usually be gone by the day after. But it definitely has an impact. Anytime if I eat concentrated fats or proteins, it will show up. Okay. So now, by the way, I'm not sure if there's a problem with my live chat because I'm only seeing 2 messages here. The first 2 I've already mentioned. Again, with my cell phone back here so far, and I have to reach out to get to it. Right? That's where it is. It's a little harder to read who's showing up here. There's a lot of people showing up. The cell phone, for those of you who are here for the first time, I'm live on both Instagram and YouTube. And Instagram's on my cell phone, which I have because we don't have cell service here, is connected via a cable and an adapter. That's otherwise I can't get online, right? Because we have no Wi-Fi and there's no cell service here. So very, very poor cell service. I mean, here in my apartment, I get 0 signal, and I love that. I love it. I'm not being bombarded by this terrible signal all the time. But anyway, what was I saying? So yeah, I've got Instagram on my phone. I'm not seeing anything else. So if you are here on YouTube, please say hello, tell me where you're from, ask any questions, because I want to see if I can see the chat window. Otherwise, what do? I don't have a third. I only have 2 connection points right here. So I could bring a laptop and try to connect that way, but I can't see any messages here in the chat window. I see that there are some 47 of you. I see 11 people have given me the thumbs up. Thank you very much. What's wrong with the rest of it? How come the rest of you don't want to give me a thumbs up? Haven't said much useful yet, I guess. But go ahead and say hello. Let me see if I can see anyone, because I'm not seeing anything happening. I can't answer questions. I won't be able to respond to super chats at this point, unfortunately, without a live chat window. So I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not getting a message that there's an issue, but it's just not. I'm not seeing it. I mean, it's very unlikely that there's nothing else in there, because usually there's a whole bunch of messages by now already. Just thinking, unfortunately, I don't have. I could bring a cable from over there, but it's not. I don't think I have a long enough cable to do that. So I think I'm stuck for now. If you send me a super chat, what I'll do is I will please include your email address. If you've already sent me one, email me at Loren@tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com, and I'll respond via email later on today at some point. Okay, tonight at the latest. If you sent me a super chat. If you want to send a super chat, please feel free to. I'll do the same thing. Just in your super. If you don't want to make your email address public, just do the super chat and then send me a message telling me, asking me whatever your question is, so that an email, so I have your email address and I'll respond that way. Okay. If the messages are here, I'll see them once we're done. I mean, on the replay, if there are messages here, as I suspect there are, but I don't think I can answer them at that point. So this is a way that you can still get your questions answered. It'll just be a little later on. Okay, I hope that's okay with you. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to do. If I wasn't on Instagram, I could hook up a second computer screen here and could maybe see what's happening there. Sometimes, I don't know if it's this computer or I'm not sure what it is. Anyway, without questions or comments, I mean, I could try to come in here and see. I see Euro Kitty says, what's your intake on EMF and how to protect yourself? Well, stay away from appliances and high intensity, high current systems as much as possible. Again, here, I mean, I've got a big screen and it's at the back of my desk, so I'm not sitting anywhere close. I spend a lot of time sitting here every day. Right now, more than ever, because I'm spending 4 or 5 hours a day on Skype with clients every day. And I don't want to be very close to it, and I keep things away from me. Again, we have no Wi-Fi. That's a little. It's a type of electromagnetic radiation. You want to stay away from that. Ideally, if you're living in a place where you're being affected, being bombarded by Wi-Fi and microwave signal, you might want to move if your health is really important to you, because that's not going to work very well. That is going to negatively affect you. There's no way to avoid that. Okay? You're making a huge difference in this world. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Jose. I really appreciate your kindness. I'm doing my best to help as many people as possible. And I appreciate the acknowledgement for that. I mean, I'm not looking for that. I'm not expecting that. I'm just happy to share what I can. As some of you know, I went from being very, very sick at 23, worse with 3 years of medical care, finally realized medicine's it's a bad joke. It's, taking toxic substances, which is what all pharmaceuticals are, can never make anyone healthier. It can only suppress symptoms. And I realized that at 26, finally. I realized that medicine wasn't helping me, probably not really helping very many people, just making people feel better by suppressing symptoms. And I decided I wanted my health back. But the only thing I could do was figure out myself how to make that happen, because I didn't know how else to do it. And so I set out to do that, wound up making dramatic changes to my diet, wound up learning about fasting, did a lot of fasting, made a lot of mistakes. You can learn yourself if you want over 10 years like I did, or you can get guidance from someone who knows exactly what to do. And of course, there's been a lot of controversy lately around me, around fasting. Some of you are aware of this. There are probably people here. I have a lot of new Instagram followers, for instance, from Chile, because I've been working with Roxana Munoz, who is a very dear friend. I mean, she came to me as a client. I didn't know her 18 months ago. She's an amazing woman. She happened to be well known in Chile. She had been on a TV program. She did some modeling. She has a massive Instagram following. And we started doing a live broadcast every Sunday. We'll do another one on Sunday, which will be live on her channel in Spanish. And last Sunday, a webinar. We had more than 1,000 people subscribed in Spanish. And we're going to be doing a course soon. If you're here and speak Spanish, understand Spanish, Jose, for instance, I'm guessing you do. We'll be doing a live course in Spanish coming up soon. You can take advantage because it's actually priced for the Chilean market, but because it's going to be mostly Roxana's followers. That'll be starting, I think, maybe the week after next, something like that, about 2 weeks from now. I'll probably be announcing that next week when we have all the details ready. But anyway, we started going live. She started publishing on her own Instagram channel, her own process. And what was happening was she started hearing from doctors and George, I see this. Thank you for your comment about the Netflix. I'll come to that. Doctors and nutritionists, and of course, every newspaper, magazine, TV channel, radio program covered this story because she's well enough known. She's one of those people, they just use her first name. Roxana's fast. And they quoted all these doctors and nutritionists in Chile talking about how she was killing herself and how she was probably going to have a heart attack and how this was terrible for you, and et cetera, et cetera. And, people attacking me because I'm not an MD, et cetera. It's kind of, I was a little surprised at the level of aggression, the people. I mean, honestly, it's kind of sad because not the aggressiveness, but the people, doctors, nutritionists, were saying stupid things like, this is terrible for you. She's probably gonna die. She's injuring herself. She's probably hurting her brain and her heart. Folks, there's tons of science on fasting. Okay, it may not be well known by most people, but there is science that supports what we do. We see amazing results. We've seen amazing results with many thousands of people now over 23 and a half years. And I mean, many of you that are here with me already know that because you've been here with me. I mean, every week, there are at least a dozen or more clients who are on these live broadcasts. Why? Because they feel like it's beneficial to them to hear me, to be reminded of these things that they already know, have already learned, and maybe to learn something new. And yet, the folks in Chile, oh man, it's amazing. You don't know anything you're talking, you don't know what you're talking about. Like we need to eat meat to get tons of protein. I'm like, folks, really? You guys are living in the dark ages. It was amazing. And then of course, just let's see, was it last week? I think it was now 2 weeks ago, maybe. No, about 10 days ago, Netflix released, they have a new series. There are 5 programs so far. I guess if it's popular enough, it's been pretty popular. They're talking about making more programs, but there's 5 so far. They contacted me a year ago or more and said, we're going to do this program called Well, like in wellness, right? It's Well, and we're interested in doing one program on fasting. We understand that you run one of the largest centers, that you've been fasting people for well over 20 years, that you're one of the experts. We'd love to come. We wondered if you're interested. If you are, we'll have some questions. You can answer sort of an application. And so we did a call. I got off the call thinking, yeah, there's no way they're going to include me. They probably think I'm crazy because some of the things I was telling them in answer to their questions. They contacted me about 2 weeks later and say, okay, we'd like to come film. They spent 2 days here. We were kind and generous. I offered to put them up. It happened to be the end of the session, so we had some space. They told me they preferred to stay at a hotel, and that was fine. But the whole time they told me this was about Well, and that this was a positive look at fasting as a healing option. And of course, they unveiled the program is called Unwell, and it's supposed to be an expose of people out there, charlatans, people out there who are hurting people and taking their money, and these absurd practices, etc. The other programs, one was on tantric sex, one was on healing, bee sting therapy, one was on what was it? I don't remember now. I haven't seen them all. I watched the one on fasting with my group here, my family, the volunteers here. There are 6 of them currently, all clients of mine. One is here with her husband, who's fasting with me. She wants to fast now, actually. She wasn't sure when she first came here. Now she wants to fast, that she's seen all these amazing things happening for people. And as she's actually helping me with my emails. Her name is Katie. If you've been in touch with us, you might have seen something from her. And she's like blown away by what she's seeing. She saw it with her husband, but she didn't know if he was isolated. He's young and healthy anyway. Maybe it's different. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. 3 of the volunteers have fasted here 3 times. 4, although one of them is not here right now. He's away for the next couple of months with his family in Europe. Anyway, these are people that keep doing this because they keep seeing amazing benefits from it, right? And why was I telling you all that? Anyway, we watched this program together, and it was kind of shocking what they did. They did their best to make us look bad, and I just answered their questions. Of course, they didn't include everything I said. They only included the part that they wanted to push their agenda. It's been amazing to me. In fact, I'll make a public request here. For those of you that are listening, if you're clients, you've had a good experience here, go to Google My Business and please post a review. We've had a dozen people who've never been here post reviews. I've responded to most of them. I haven't had time to respond to all of them so far. But I am like, people are saying, yeah, don't go to this place. This guy's crazy. He's killing people. I'm like, oh, how do you review a place that you've never been to? Okay, how would you talk about someone you've never met? Do you really believe everything you see on television? Folks, does everyone here, at the beginning of the program, it actually says, this film is intended for entertainment and I forget what the rest of it was, purposes. They're telling you that right up front. It's not a documentary. No, I can't tell. I just saw the Netflix documentary. No, you didn't. Documentaries are held to a higher standard. Documentaries, the intention, at least, what they attempt to do is to be neutral, to try to gather all the facts and simply show you what's happening. Now, documentaries are often about exposing things, but they're exposing facts. Here, that's what they say. They pretend they're doing, but they're not actually giving you the whole story. And I hope you're smart enough to understand that. right? I think most of you are. I've seen the documentary. It was very one-sided. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. I've never been to your retreat, but your videos have helped me tremendously. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I still have to watch it. Sounds like typical bait and switch. Yeah, exactly. They came here and said, this is what we'd like to do. And then, I mean, if they had said to, if they'd been honest, that would have been a different story. We might have said no, but wouldn't that have been the thing to do? I mean, I was a little surprised by what happened. I guess not terribly surprised, because I understand the entertainment business. They couldn't care less what happens to people. Anyway, yeah. If you've gotten benefit from what I had people commenting on my comments going, you're the guy that killed this, they say, they make it look like I was responsible for client's death. That's not true. That's not true. I mean, there are people who have made this statement before. I mean, first of all, some people die. I mean, we work with people who are very, very sick. Now, this young man wasn't so, I mean, he was a little strange, but he was physically okay. He was a healthy young man. I won't give you the whole story, but they didn't tell the truth about what happened. That they shared. They asked the widow about her her story, but they never verified anything. I could verify my facts. They didn't even ask me to. They didn't talk about that. They didn't show me saying anything different. I did, but they didn't talk about that. They didn't include that. So what they showed was indeed very one-sided. Again, folks, be intelligent enough to understand, especially today. I mean, for most of you here, I think you already get this. And that is that there's a question about dry fasting. Most of you here, I think, already understand that the media is anything but neutral. Your news broadcasts, how many of you have seen videos where someone's demonstrated that 75 news channels, TV news channels across the US, where the newscasters are saying exactly the same words? I don't mean they're talking about the same thing. I mean, they're all reciting a statement or reading off a teleprompter the exact same words as the next one. Do you think that's a coincidence? Because it's not a coincidence. Okay, they're being told what to say. Most of these channels are owned by the same few organizations, and they are in cahoots. It's a conspiracy theory, right? No, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy. They are attempting to harm us, and that's what's going on here. All right. All right, I'm reading a comment here. Okay, so first of all, there was a question about dry fasting. What's my take on dry fasting? Dry fasting is stupid, and I mean, it's foolish and it's dangerous. I know knew at least 3 people now dead because of dry fasting. None of them died while dry fasting, at least not that I'm aware of. But one of them, a young man in malaria, contracted a tropical disease that's normally not a big deal. It's a mosquito-borne disease that most people hear from. The vast majority of people that get it, no problem. If you're healthy, should be nothing to worry about. You might feel bad for a couple of weeks, but you'll be perfectly fine. He died as a result. Why? Because he destroyed his immune system with repetitive dry fasting. Okay, he didn't believe me. A friend of mine, amazing guy, Dr. Robert Lockhart, destroyed his kidneys. Okay, he died, his entire body shut down. It started out with kidney failure because of dry fasting. Okay, now you can drink too much water. It's important that we drink what we need, but not more than that. Okay, and you have to understand what that looks like. And this is one of the reasons it's not safe for someone to fast more than a few days or so without having experienced guidance. You have to really understand what you're doing. And most people on their own don't do that. But dry fasting only dehydrates you. Okay, there are no benefits. This idea that it's 3 times more powerful, that's nonsense. They say that because you go into ketosis on the first day instead of the 3rd day, which is what's typical with water fasting. But that happens because your seriously dehydrated body is desperately looking for water, and the body makes water when it metabolizes fat. This doesn't only happen dry fasting, it happens water fasting too. But it will happen dry fasting faster. You'll go into this process faster because your body needs water. If you're drinking water when you fast, you're not making yourself dangerously dehydrated unless you're drinking very, very little. I mean, that happens too. but for most people, it's not an issue. Okay, so don't believe the hype. Now, I found two studies, only two studies. I mean, most of the claims, there's no scientific or logical support for. Zero. Two claims. And I've talked about this before. I apologize if I'm boring you. Some of you have seen me, heard me many, many times. Maybe you've heard me talk about this. So there's a study that says that dry fasting is the most efficient and effective way to reduce inflammation. Another one says the most effective and efficient way to reduce excessive mucus. Well, of course it is. Mucus and inflammation both are the result of having sufficient water in the body. I mean, mucus happens because on purpose, right? The body creates mucus to encapsulate and help you eliminate something that doesn't belong. But in order to create the mucus, there has to be enough water because mucus is 97, I forget if it's 97 or 98% water. Inflammation occurs, you injure yourself, so you injure your elbow, right? Your body sends blood and lymph to the elbow. What happens? It swells up with excess fluid. But what if there's not enough water coming in? What if there's no water coming in? I mean, science says you need 3 liters a day, which you can get partially from what you eat and drink, right? Even if it's not just water, but you need 3 liters a day just to adequately meet your body's normal needs. If you're not getting that much, you're creating a problem. If you're consuming no food and no water, you're not getting anywhere close to 3 liters. You're getting 0 liters. Okay, 0 is a lot less than 3. You're making yourself dehydrated. That's the only thing that happens. When you're dehydrated, there will be no inflammation because your body can't afford to make more blood and lymph. It can't do that. It can't afford to make mucus. It's trying to stay alive. And that becomes the focus, just being alive. And so you're not going to see any significant benefits when the body's trying to stay. I mean, the mucus, the inflammation, the mucus go away. But is that good? Well, we feel better. Remember, the inflammation and mucus are both happening because your virtually infinitely intelligent body knows it's the best way to handle a not very good situation. It's the best way to heal an injury. It's the best way to eliminate toxins. The body creates these conditions on purpose. So you want them to go away, but you want them to go away because your body has finished doing what it needs to do. Okay? That's what's happening. So we don't want to suppress the symptoms. We want them to go away because the body's actually completed the process. I hope that makes sense. It's a completely different thing. By the way, anyone joining me here on YouTube, or for those of you that are still here, which is 78 of you, I still have no live chat. I can't see anything here. I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if there's anything I can do about that, but it means I can't respond to your comments, questions, super chats. So as I said earlier, if you've made a super chat, please send me an email and I will respond via email later in the day when I have some time. If you would like to make a super chat, that's a contribution, please feel free to. I will respond. What you do though is make the contribution here and then send me your question or comment via email to Loren, Loren, at Tanglewood Wellness Center, that's CENTER.com, and I'll be glad to respond later on. Okay? Let me know you made a super chat. I'll be able to see later on. I mean, usually what happens is when this happens is when I go to the replay, everything appears, but I can't respond to it then. Okay? And you can't do a super chat once we're not live. So if you want to do it now. Okay. Vivo Collective says, love your videos, Loren. Learning a lot from you. I share many clips from your videos on my page, health and wellness page focused on living foods. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate your sharing. I mean, I'm really, really glad that people share this because if this stuff is helpful, the whole goal, the whole point is to help as many people as possible, right? Some of you are aware of this. There is tons of free information. I think we're getting close. We're probably 530 or 540 videos, something like that on the YouTube channel. I'm doing more and more on Instagram now as well. This is free information. I'm not asking you, I'm not requiring you to pay for it. If you choose to contribute, that's fine. It helps, right? This is time that I would otherwise probably sell to a client. I mean, I have more people wanting appointments than I have time to do many days. And so not all the time, but I mean, I'm also doing a lot more of them now than I used to because we've been really quiet here. We currently have 4 clients here. There's going to be more coming this week. It's going to be a little busier. It's going to be a little harder. I'm going to be even busier than I have been. So it helps these contributions, but it's not necessary. I'm putting this information out there for everyone's benefit, no charge. Now, those people who find it really useful and helpful and want to, I mean, I'm aware that many of you resonate with what I'm teaching and saying, and you want to work with me. So great. The truth is, I mean, 22 years ago, I tried advertising twice. We've never advertised since. I've never advertised my services, either here at Tanglewood or as a health coach for many years before that, except for those 2 times I ran an ad in a magazine which no longer exists, a magazine that Dave Klein, who died recently, used to publish. And I ran a couple ads in the magazine, never saw anything come as a result of it, and decided it was a waste of money. And what I've been committed to doing is helping as many people as possible. So right now, as I said to you, I mean, my volunteers, most of them have already fasted with me 3 times. One of them once, and his wife not yet. She wants to do it now. We have people returning all the time. We have people referring other people all the time. And so we stay busy without me needing to pay for advertising. And I'm not stupid. I understand that when I share valuable content, people resonate with it and they want to work with me. But I'm giving away a ton of information. I hope that's evident. I hope that's apparent. I mean, I really am completely committed to helping as many people as possible. Okay, here's a question. I apologize. It's great. The things are rolling up. I'm not catching everything here on Instagram, and I still can't see anything on YouTube. But Cowboy Swimmer says, "Howdy, Loren. Love your videos. Do you have any videos regarding juice fasting versus water fasting? Thanks for the inspiration and for being a healer." Well, thank you so much for your kind comments. And I don't want to argue with someone who's just been very generous with your comments. I'm not arguing with you. I will point out to you that I'm not a healer. Thank you so much. I understand what you mean. I mean, what I seek to do is to create a spectacularly beautiful and comfortable place where people can heal, and to create the conditions for that to happen. But of course, only your body can heal your body. I can't heal you. No one can heal you. People who call themselves healers, maybe they don't really understand this. Okay, but only the organism can heal the organism. So the best I can do is to create those conditions, give you the knowledge that you may not have, and then get out of your way so your body can do what it needs to do. And then healing happens. I think I do have videos talking about comparing juice fasting and what so-called juice fasting and water fasting. I'll talk about it for a moment now and see how we're doing time-wise. I have another appointment in 20 minutes, so we still have some time. Yeah, let me talk about this for just a moment, because it's critically important. And I know there are people out there. There's one guy out there who promotes juice fasting and tells people, oh, it's much more powerful than water fasting. That's absurd. It's truly absurd. And I can tell you, I have a fair amount of experience with juice fasting. I used to juice fast regularly myself 35 years ago. And for anyone who doesn't know, I'm coming up on 60. I'm 59, plus almost 59 and a half now. So 35 years ago, I'd started my health journey. Long before, actually at 14, I started studying nutrition. I was very interested in the connection between food and health, and later on between nature, the laws of nature, and health. I learned about juice fasting. Someone told me about it, I guess. I'm not sure. I don't remember how I first came across the idea. I bought a Champion juicer. It's a big, heavy machine. I used to travel with it. I would carry 2 bags when I traveled. I would have a small bag where I would have my clothes. I would have a big bag where I would have my Champion juicer, it's got to be like 20 pounds or more, 8 kilos, 9 kilos, something like 9+ kilos. I would have my Champion juicer, and I would have a huge bag of apples and a huge bag of carrots. When I traveled, I carried apples and carrots because they were relatively easy to travel with. I padded a little bit, but I'd have these inside, and they traveled relatively well. It wasn't messy. It was easy to work with. And I would, if I was traveling, I would just drink carrot and apple juice. Now, I'm not suggesting that's the best thing to do. Obviously, carrot and apple juice has a lot of sugar. In fact, Fruit juices, carrot and beet juice, all have a lot of sugar. Green juices, greens are 50% protein on average, and so green juices are very high protein. Well, that's good, right? No, it's not. We need tiny amounts of protein. Excessive protein makes us age and die faster. So I don't choose to do either of those things. There's actually lots of issues with juices. Juices are largely oxidized. When you make a juice, you're tearing the fruit or vegetable into tiny pieces. You're exposing everything to oxygen. Oxygen is very destructive. And for instance, in one study, in 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, 60%, if I remember, 40% of the vitamin C was destroyed in just 3 minutes. That's what it was, 40%, 3 minutes. In 3 minutes, 40% of the vitamin C is destroyed. You know, I don't see this so often anymore, but when I was more active on Facebook years ago, and perhaps when there were more people doing this, maybe people still do this, I would see people posting things like, you know, here's my 5 gallons of juice for the week. Like they're making juice for days in advance. Now, unless you have very expensive equipment and can do sealed, vacuum sealed bottles, your juice is oxidizing from the moment you make it. You're losing value, and 10 minutes later, it has a lot less value than when you made it, and an hour later, very little value, and 5 days later, there's no point in consuming that. So again, you're taking in too much sugar or too much protein. You're taking in something that's been largely oxidized. You're taking in something that is overly concentrated. Now, again, this is an old story. Some of you have heard this probably many times. I apologize. Years ago, I just completed a lecture outside of Washington, D.C., and a woman came up to ask me some questions. I answered her questions, and then I said to her, "You drink a lot of carrot juice, don't you? Just a guess." And she said, "Yeah, how'd you know?" And I said, "Well, you're orange." I don't know if you can tell, but this is a pretty bright orange. It looks more orange on Instagram than it does on YouTube. It's a whole different color. But this is an orange piece of paper. You're orange. Her skin was bright orange. And she said, "Oh, that's because I'm detoxifying," right? And I said to her, "Listen, I don't know, but for many years I've run the world's largest water-only fasting center, the single most powerful method to detoxify your body. I fasted a lot of people for 21, 26, 30, 42 days, and not one person's ever turned orange. Turning orange is not evidence of detoxification. Okay? It's evidence that you're consuming more carotenes than your liver can process. That's not a good thing. It's not terribly dangerous, but you're overwhelming your body. Why would you want to do that? Okay, that's not the thing to do. So you want to understand this. Okay, we will never improve on nature. Nature's perfect. We can't improve on nature. What does nature provide us with? Amazing whole foods, fruits like this, vegetables, leafy greens. These are nature's perfect foods for our bodies, primarily soft, tender leafy greens and fruits is what we should be eating as anthropoid primates. That's what our anthropoid primate brothers and sisters consume. Fruits, soft, tender leaves, not much else. Okay? That's what our body can actually digest. Yes, kale has more nutrients, and yet studies show that it's 4 times easier to assimilate the nutrients from papaya than it is from kale. So why would you be eating things that we can't digest very well? We're not getting the nutrients into our bodies. Okay, I don't buy, eat, or usually someone did plant some dinosaur kale here. It's gone now, I think. We don't have those things here. We have lettuces, different varieties. We grow tomatoes and cucumbers. We grow melons. We grow all kinds of fruit. That's it. Nothing else. There's nothing else you need. That's pretty much all I consume on a regular basis for the last nearly 29 years. Okay, and I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. I feel good. I've got tons of energy. I'm a little behind on sleep. How many of you are familiar with Fruit Powered Living? It's an online magazine published by Brian Rossiter. I just submitted an article. Hopefully he'll publish it now that you know about it. I just submitted an article this morning. He asked for it last week. I mean, we talked about this back in April. I've been so busy since then. It's been crazy. And about 10 days ago, I asked him if I could have a little bit more time, but he's been anxious to get this because this is a big piece of it, and he wants to put it all together. So I finally submitted this, nearly 3,000 word piece to him, and some photographs. And it's about the big project, the Nature Preserve, and what we're creating there. I think it'll be interesting. You can look for that if you're not aware of it. Go find Fruit Powered Living and subscribe, and tell Brian that I sent you. Okay, good stuff. We should support him because he works hard to put that out. Okay, so juices are inferior in every way. They're imbalanced, right? You oxidize some nutrients. So the vitamin C, for instance, I talked about, is very unstable. What that means is that you destroy most of the vitamin C through oxidation, through processing, while other nutrients might be more stable. So when you eat an orange, for instance, you have this perfect proportion of nutrients, right? You eat a strawberry, you have a perfect proportion of nutrients. When you juice them, you destroy the vitamin C, and now you don't have this, and you have way more of that than you should have proportionally. You're creating an imbalanced product. We're never going to do better than nature gives us. And think about this. It's so silly. It cracks me up how people think. It's like some people think that you can take nature's perfect foods, whatever fruits and leafy greens, take what's perfect, made by Mother Nature, run it through a machine, and somehow get something that's better. Oh, this is better than, it's like, no, I juice. Like, that's better than eating. No, it's not. It's not. Okay? Everyone talks about how bad processed foods are. Running something through a machine is a process. Of course, it's not the same as the garbage at the gas station that they can sell you next to the cash register. Of course not. But when you run something through a machine, you immediately begin the process of oxidation. You're losing nutrients. You're now creating an imbalanced product. It doesn't work the same way. Remember, there are multiple studies started with the Finnish smokers study, right? They took a whole bunch of, hundreds, thousands of male Finnish smokers, middle-aged men who smoke cigarettes. They followed them till their death. They autopsied them. Half of the group had beta-carotene supplements, half didn't. They assumed that the men taking the beta-carotene would have less incidence of lung disease. What they found was exactly the opposite. The men who took beta-carotene, believed to have a protective effect, had more disease. How's that possible? It's simple. When you take, they found since in other studies, either an isolated nutrient like beta-carotene or even a multivitamin supplement, devoid of the things that it would have in the perfect natural food, what happens? You create an imbalance. Imbalanced bodies are sick bodies. Imbalanced bodies are prone to disease. They're prone to problems. You want to keep your body in balance. You do that by eating whole foods, just like the other 25 million species on the planet. I mean, how can you explain that every other species stays amazingly healthy eating the food, cows, sheep, and goats, grass and little green plants, that's it, nothing else. Okay? Lions and tigers, flesh, and not much else. Ants, only anteaters, only ants. Chimpanzees and bonobos, the vast majority, 90+% of their calories, 92%, from fruit. Okay, very small quantities of soft, tender leaves, other plant parts. As we move into the rainiest time of the year here, there'll be less fruit available on the trees naturally. So if we lived in the jungle, you might have to eat more other soft plant parts. That's what they do in the tropical jungles where they live. In the months where there's the most rain, there's going to be less fruit. And so they have to eat other things. But when there's plenty of fruit available, they eat almost nothing but fruit. Our systems are identical. Every other species has a natural species-specific diet. I mean, this is so elementary. It blows me away that people can't see this. I swear to you, 20 nutritionists have told me in the last 6 weeks, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Everyone needs different diet. Really? Because there are 25 million species. Every other one has one diet for the whole species, and we have a different diet for each person? I don't think so. My experience has been, and I've worked with more than 12,000 clients, is when you get the body clean, every human body thrives eating fruit and soft, tender leaves. I haven't seen an exception yet. Okay? Our systems are the same. Your system's like my system. The biggest differences are how much damage we've created so far. That's it. Okay? I hope that makes sense. All right, so let me come back over to Instagram and see if there's anything else. Do fruit-based diet help with alcohol abuse? Well, yes. Eating the optimal diet. I mean, what happens when someone abuses alcohol is they create nutritional deficiencies. For instance, you're going to be deficient in thiamine if you're an alcoholic. And so what you want to do is eat the best diet possible for your body, because your optimal diet is the best way to get nutrients into your body. You can't do better by eating a diet that your body was not intended for, because it's going to be harder to get those nutrients. So absolutely, a fruit-based diet is optimal for anyone doing anything, because it's our natural diet. Now, if you want to heal from alcohol abuse, just changing your diet may not be enough. Okay? What you want to do is fast, supervised fast for at least 21 days. Do the work, right? Follow the coaching. I would coach you to do some emotional work, because you need to release the addiction by no longer needing it. And then you clean the garbage out of your body, you clean the alcohol out of your body, and guess what? There's no physical addiction anymore. So you release the emotional, psychological addiction by doing the emotional work, and you release the physical addiction by detoxifying, by getting those toxins out of your body. What you've seen this, I'm sure you've seen movies. The heroin addict goes through a terrible withdrawal, but once there's no heroin in his or her system, there's no more physical craving for heroin. They may still crave the high psychologically. They may still be looking to escape, but physically getting the substance out of the body eliminates the craving for it. That's how you eliminate an addiction physically, is get rid of the substance. Fasting is the best way to do that. Afterward, you follow the cleanest diet possible. Okay, that's going to be the way to do this. All right, that's the very best thing you can do, in my opinion, from my experience. All right, so we have just a few minutes left. You can scroll down to see the past questions. Yeah, I'm just not sure how much. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I didn't actually realize that until a few minutes ago. But I'm not, it's that I'm looking through and trying to see what I haven't seen, and sorry, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that today. Okay, Lemony Lemon says, what was her reaction after you explained about the carrots? Well, I think like most people, people mostly believe what they want to believe. I don't know where she got this information from, but she was somehow believing this was a good thing for her. Now, again, carrot juice is exceptionally high in sugar, right? She's asking, what did the woman say when I explained to her why she was orange, right? So, I mean, not only was she getting way more beta carotene, carotenes in general, it's a whole family of nutrients that her body her liver could process, but she's also getting a lot of sugar. Carrots are very sweet. That's not a good thing. When you take a juice, you eliminate the fiber, you wind up with a much higher glycemic load. So, for instance, oranges have a glycemic load of 4. The glycemic load is predictive of impact on blood sugar. So the glycemic load charts, not glycemic index, that's different. Okay, watermelon has a high glycemic index of 72, but it has a glycemic load of 4. On the glycemic load chart, 0 to 9 is low, 10 to 19 is moderate, 20 and above is high. Watermelon's a 4. It's not high. It's actually on the bottom half of the low side of the of the low chart, of the low section. Okay, oranges are also a 4 on the glycemic load chart. Orange juice is an 11, so it's almost 3 times higher. It's still not super high, but it's 3 times the impact on your blood sugar. Why? Because it doesn't contain fiber or much fiber. Okay, you take the fiber out, the fiber slows down the absorption of sugar. You take the water out, same thing happens. Okay, so a raisin is much sweeter than a grape and has a much higher glycemic index. In fact, think about dates. The way most people eat dates, they're dry. They're very, very sweet because they're dry. Because the water content is only 25% or so, the sugar is much more concentrated. If you've ever had like a yellow date, you can buy dates that are yellow or orange. Sometimes if you're in a place, California, Israel, Saudi Arabia, someplace they grow dates in the desert, Arizona. you can sometimes buy dates that are still yellow or orange. They're not very sweet. They're not super juicy. They're not a really high water content fruit, but they're not really dry and sweet either, because they still have, they're probably 75% water when they're orange or yellow. And when you're eating them, they're 25% water. So when you remove 2/3 of the water by letting them dry in the desert air, which is what usually happens, they dry on the tree. They're picked usually when they're already brown, soft and chewy and sweet, super sweet. Why? Because by removing 2/3 of the water, the sugar is now much more concentrated. Okay, but what that means is the glycemic load is also more concentrated. So dates, the way they're normally eaten when they're brown and sweet, are in the 40 to 45 range, where remember, high is anything over 20, and they're 40 to 45. Low is anything under 10, and they're 40 to 45. Most sweet fruits, most of the things we call fruit, apples, oranges, pears, peaches, nectarines, plums, grapes, all the things we think of as fruit, durian, jackfruit, mamey sapote. Most of the fruits are low glycemic load. Now the sweeter ones, like the bananas and the jackfruits and the durian and the sapotes and the persimmons, they're moderate glycemic load fruits. I don't know of a high glycemic load fruit. There might be some. We recently had a whole bunch of fresh Canistelle. We're growing Canistelle here. We bought these amazing egg fruit, it's called. Canistelle, it has the consistency of sort of a deviled egg yolk. Okay, you take a hard-boiled egg, you take the yolk, you mix, don't do this, don't eat animal products. When I was a kid, my mother would serve this for parties, right? Hors d'oeuvres. She'd take the egg, hard boil it, cut it in half, scoop out the yolk, mix it with mayonnaise and paprika, put it back in. So it's creamy, right? A little sweet tasting. The Canistelle is very creamy like that and very sweet tasting. It's amazing stuff, but there's a limit to how much you can eat. It's dry, very dry. These things, you don't want to be doing that. Okay, so I hope that helps. Let's see what else we have here. Matthias says, how long should I water fast in order to heal from SIBO? Looking forward to fast with you. Well, first of all, you should, for SIBO, you should probably, assuming that's what's really going on. Everyone has SIBO these days, so that's what they say. You can completely heal your gut for most people, depending on just how advanced, if it's SIBO, usually 21 days will be enough. For some people, it might be better to do 26 days. For things like ulcerative colitis, 26 to 30 days is what I usually recommend. But for SIBO, 21 to 26. For most other lower GI tract problems, 21 days is generally adequate. But of course, again, I would never recommend more than 3 to 5 days without having experienced guidance. Okay, because you really have to know what you're doing for it to be safe and to get as much benefit as you can. Okay, I see my 10 o'clock call has started without me. That's what they do. That's okay. It tells me it's time. So it is time. I'm going to wrap it up here. Again, if you have made a super chat, if you haven't made a super chat, it's not too late. If you want to do that, you can contribute. I won't see it now, but send me an email, Loren@tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com, and I will respond later with the answer to any question and as well to thank you. If you've already done one, send me your email so I know how to reach you. If you're someone I don't know, and I'll be glad to shoot you an email later on when I have a chance. I'm still seeing nothing in the live chat here on YouTube. I don't know why. Okay, so folks, it's been a pleasure being with you. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'll leave it there for now. Have a great one. I'll look forward to seeing you. I'll be back certainly next Friday, possibly before that, depending on what else is happening. Sometimes I'll do intermediate. Sometimes in the midweek, I'll do another live broadcast. We'll see what happens. Okay, take care. I'll look forward to seeing you sometime soon. Bye-bye. I can't see the screen over there on YouTube. We are over on YouTube. I still have to